this time, what are we talking about then?
The cinch. The cinch. I mean, you're in a cinch.
God bless the cinch.
I'm still in the cinch. I finally got Ryland the other day posing with nearly all the captains. Nearly all of them. All the real clubs. All the ones that have been around longer than 10 years. But yeah, that's the pettiness is still going on with Rangers and Cinch.
Who went?
Well, nobody went.
No one?
Because it was the captains of every club, yeah. So Rangers weren't represented.
Wow.
In like the sponsored photo op thing.
Wow.
Because Douglas Park's like, no, I have buses or cars or whatever, and they've got cars, so therefore,
wow.
Yeah, they're a weird bunch.
Aye.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here thinking.
We
We were doing a bit of sitting here thinking downstairs in between videos, but they'll already know what we were thinking about because they'll have edited in the options. For the options bookies for the forfeit for this prediction challenge across both leagues.
Yeah.
So what we've gone with option A was the classic FIFA style apology. So the loser will be doing a video on the channel basically admitting that the other one is superior in football knowledge and predicting and all that jazz because they will have lost. Second one was shaving your head bald. Proper bald. And there is one potentially bigger loser in that out of the two of us. I will leave you to decide. And the and the third option is we're going to be partnering with our friend Momo from Momo's Pizzeria and Grill, Shawarma House. Best pizzeria and grill. Pizzeria and grill. That's very good. Best takeaway in Dundee. By far. A good friend of the channel. Mm-hmm. He's going to concoct a especially spicy meal for us, and we're going to have to finish it basically.
So that's your options.
We do like a bit of spice, me and you, but I think he's really going to turn it up for 11 for the sake of for the culture,
for the occasion.
Yes. So I mean, if you're gonna lose this, you have to pay the price. That is one of the options. I mean, you might not have to do it. It depends what gets voted for.
What you guys?
Yeah. So the voting will start once the first video goes out, and we'll announce at some point on the socials when it's going to close. So if you haven't voted already, we'll do it on the Facebook page, I think.
Aye.
In fact, we'll do a poll on Facebook, and we'll also allow people to vote either A, B, or C below here. And if anyone bothers commenting on here, nobody ever seems to. But this is a reason to do it now, and we'll calculate everything. We'll add everything up, and at some point, we'll decide. Right, that's the cut off. Yeah. Then we can announce this is what the losers are going to have to do at the end of the season.
Yes.
Yes. C.
C, senor.
C, cinch.
C,
so I thought we've been going up, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking we did the last video top to bottom. How about we change it up a wee bit and go bottom to top?
Oh,
spicy! Like option
C.
Exactly, yeah. So we've gone 1 to 10 in the championship. We're now going to go 12th to 1st in the Premiership. Marcus, I will allow you to kick us off. Who is finishing bottom of the league and joining a cinch in the Championship next year? Who's leaving this cinch?
No, it's between two. Well, technically it's
between 12, but you know.
Aye, but anyway, technically, I'm thinking it's so hard to decide, but you know what, Dan?
What's that?
I think it's time. St Johnstone.
I couldn't agree more.
Bottom of the league.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've had a massive clear out. Again.
Well, this is the thing. It wasn't even so much a massive clear out last year. It was quality leave it.
Aye.
Maybe more so than quantity. But
they're all gone, isn't it?
The quality that was left has now left.
It's obviously McCart's gone, Rooney's gone.
Rooney and Clark are the two big ones for me.
Yeah, Clark as well.
I mean, you saw how
Cam Hendry's
you saw how bad they were when Rooney wasn't there.
Yeah.
And for as much as we love him, and you still love him really deep down.
I'd take him at Dundee.
Who dug them out of the hole right at the end when they really needed them? As usual, Sean Rooney. Always scores in finals. Yeah. Big game player, and he's not there anymore.
No.
And they've been knocked out of the League Cup already.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's too much for them to do now, and they've not really. I mean, I had a wee look at who they've brought in, right? They've signed Jamie Murphy, but Jamie Murphy's finished now.
He was finished a long time ago.
Aye. Andrew Considine.
Yeah. He's not going to win you games.
No. Ryan McGowan.
Again, Dennis St Johnson players, like they'll get them a few 0-0 draws, but they're not going to win you games.
Nah.
St Johnson have got 3 strikers now, in Kane, May, and now Murphy. They've got 3 centre forwards that don't score goals. And what was Dundee's biggest problem last year?
Couldn't score.
Didn't score enough goals. And I think St Johnson are
couldn't be the same.
very, very dangerous in becoming this season's version of Dundee. Not just the going down part, the way they might go down as well. Just unable to win games, even by their standards. They were that team for a long time that would just draw enough games to finish sort of mid-table, and then obviously they had that amazing season winning both cups.
Shows you how quickly football turns around, though, eh?
Yeah. Shows you how quickly... And we were at the game, basically, when this fate, I think, might have been sealed. It wasn't beating Lask at home. Next day, Kerr and McCann, McCann, they both left the next day for peanuts. Whereas if they'd won that game, which they could have won, it was like classic St Johnson. They didn't have enough of a go. I think they were good enough to beat that last team, St Johnson, especially that, because that was the team. They were all still there that had won the 2 cups. You're talking a minimum of £3 million in your back pocket if you win that game and you qualify for the group stage. For a team like St Johnson, that's amazing.
It's huge.
I mean, look at what Hearts have been able to do this summer already by just knowing minimum they're going to be in that group stage. They were able to go and splash again, a lot of money for a Scottish club. They've been able to splash 10% of that prize money on buying Shanklin, for example. So, and if that's big for Hearts, then think how big that would have been for St Johnson. That's the difference of them being able to say to Kerr or like McCann at that time, give us another year, and you get to play in Europe, and then you can leave. Or it's the difference of being able to not only say that, but then give them another contract. Give guys like Clark and Rooney contracts. Obviously, clearly they're best players, and even if they still lose them further down the line, it'll be for maybe actual money rather than like pennies or free
or frees.
So it just shows. I think that's the moment that the fate changed. It's but like you said, they've gone such a high. And they're down it now. I think it's only going to get worse for them sadly this season. Yeah. These games are rapid. Yeah, these games can be massive for clubs, and
But yeah, it's a massive clear out, and like you say, it's been quality players as well that they're losing. Like they're really best players and the kind of spine and core of the team. And it's been the writing's been on the wall for the past season and a half, kind of 2 seasons.
You could see where it was going, and they needed a good recruitment this summer. I'm not convinced they've done that.
No. So we agree on that then.
Yeah, literally my notes for St Johnson are no Zander or Rooney, strikers who don't score. That's my summary of St Johnson for the season.
So who are you going 11th then?
I'm going for the jobby that won't flush, Ross County.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because every year I'm like, surely this year, because they've done the usual where like everyone leaves and then they bring in like half a squad. Like, not only obviously Charles Cook was the man last season, scored joint top scorer in the league. You know Yakimakis nicked joint top scorer on the last day last year because he got 2 goals.
Oh really?
So he was actually joint top scorer. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, again, Charles Cook, a winger for Ross County, scored that many goals.
Yeah, brilliant.
But yeah, so he's gone obviously.
He's gone, yeah.
I mean
that Hungo as well. He was only on loan from Watford, wasn't he? And that was kind of the danger man. They had pacey wingers that could hit on the counter. Yeah. So that, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And my note for them again is Ross County. Surely this time they'll have a bad season. Surely, because again last season they didn't start well.
No, they didn't. But
they turned it around. Fair play to the guys. But again, giving me vibes of say like Sunderland when they were in the Premier League. You can only ride your luck so many times before eventually it's going to catch up to you. And this is a joke that me and Harry have had with each other for years. That Ross County, they always have a bad start and then they always manage to turn that around at Christmas time, usually by like buying half a team, and then they stay up, or they do it in the summer. They just get rid, start again. You can't keep keep rolling that dice. Surely, I mean, maybe they'll prove us wrong again, but I just think surely it's time. So I could be wrong, but maybe Cove 4th in the championship was my wild card. Maybe that's my wild card pick for the SPL, putting County 11th. But Sometimes you've got to roll the dice.
Got a gamble.
Just like them gambling on buying a new squad every 6 months. It keeps working.
Oh man, it's got a gamble. Now, for 11th out, I'm not on the same page as you here. I'm going for Kelly.
Kelly, yeah.
I think Kilmarnock will finish 11th. The reason is, right, I know they've got a good manager in Derek McInnes.
They've got one of the best managers in the league.
They do, mate. But, right, I was having a wee look at who they brought in. It's not really impressed me that much.
They've got power back from us. He went on holiday for the year at St Mirren and then he's come back.
Nah, he's
just back to kick people. Like,
yeah. And then you've got the only other one that was kind of notice was Jordan Jones.
Howdy, JJ.
Howdy, JJ.
Howdy,
Insert that tweet. Yeah, me and Robbie spoke about it on the.
I was kind of like, he was at St Mirren and he wasn't great there at St Mirren. In fact,
but he is back. He wasn't great at Rangers either. But he's back where he played his best football. Maybe that could be enough. He's in an environment he knows, an environment he thrives in, and he's with a good manager, just like Steve Clark was.
We'll see, Daniel. We'll see. But
I think that could be.
could
be a good bit of business for Kelly.
It could be, but that's what I'm saying. That's the only particular transfer coming in of note, I would say. Like, I feel like a lot of the guys that they had last year, they had on loan, and a lot of them have left. And like, it was a lot of the players that they had that won the league last season and moved on, but they've not really replaced them. So I think like they kind of like they're kind of looking like we did last season. In my eyes. And arguably, I would say they would probably had a stronger team there than what Kelly did.
The thing is, Kelly.
I know they've got a manager.
Kelly have another thing that Dundee didn't have last season. They have the best striker in the world.
Kyle Lafferty.
Yeah. Remember that when you were going into that playoff and everyone was going on about, like, Kyle, he comes on form at this time of year. And the way he was getting talked like he was like the best player in the ground. I remember in that first leg at Dens, he had a free kick at the Coxey. I think he put it at the stadium, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is the guy, this is the guy." And he went, he did his classic Kyle Lafferty. He like stayed at a club for like 3 months and then fucked off. Yeah. And he came back in January again.
I'm not convinced, mate. I think they'll be 11th. That's where I think.
So you've got them 11th.
Yeah.
I've got them 10th.
Right, fair dues.
I look at their squad and I think, yeah, it's probably a bottom 6 team. But I think, all jokes aside, guys like Lafferty and McInnes, I do think that could be enough to keep them in the league, but not by much. I think 10th for Kelly. Okay. I've literally, my notes for them, McInnes, because I'm a big fan of Derek McInnes, I think you're the same. Yeah. I've got McInnes, experience side, they'll stay up. That's what I think for Kelly this year.
Fair enough.
What about 9th? Who have you got 9th? Oh, who got 10th? Sorry, 10th.
10th is Motherwell. Who are currently getting beat 1-0 again by...
What a goal, by the way.
Some free kick, by the way. But that's him out of Europe anyway. Yeah. But...
they've not been in Europe long enough for it to affect their league form.
You see, what you need to remember as well, Motherwell, right? It was from the turn of the year to the end of the season, they'd only won like 1 game.
I predicted them to struggle last season, and I was looking a bit silly when obviously we got to Christmas time and they were like comfortably in the top 6. And I was like, fucking hell, I got that wrong. But then I think the real Motherwell came out after Christmas, like, they had a bit too much turkey. But I think they didn't win, I don't think they won another game until like the split. It was crazy.
But that's what I'm saying, mate. And you see the one player that I liked from Motherwell, he's left, that Woolery. Don't know if you remember him.
I remember the name.
He was a good player. He was very direct, strong, quick, and he looked a player. Like, he's now went to... But he's...
P-L-E-R.
Player with flair.
Player
with flair. But he's away at a Turkish club now. So he's moved there, and I'm not impressed with the signings that they made.
Well, I've got them 9th, right? And I'll follow on from what you were saying about Motherwell now. My notes for them were literally no game-changing signings to stop their end-of-season slump. I think that's why they will be bottom 6 this year. Yeah. Comfortably bottom 6.
I mean, they've got Paul McGinn and Blair Spittle. That's really who they've signed. Yeah. It's not exciting, is it?
Les Petals scored a couple of goals against you like 5-6 years ago.
Aye.
Yeah.
But that's
That was a McPake game.
That was.
I was in the George Fox in that game with our mate Jamie, and I got a cracking view of especially Stuart's goal, which I think was to get it back to 2-1. And as soon as he dropped the shoulder, I went to Jamie. He's scored. And he was like, "Fuck!" You can see what was going to happen. He couldn't stop it.
Nah.
Scottish Robin.
Scottish some fucking left foot. Like, yeah, you just knew exactly what was going to
like,
happen.
oh, that's in.
It could have been any better. Like it was like
You don't even lined up to shoot you. As soon as he dropped the shot, that's in.
It's like a Gary Harkin shot from about 20 million yards out, and like the keeper's dropped it.
McPake just slide tackles
It
in there.
goes flying in. Literally the last second of the game. I mean, it was funny though, wasn't it? But anyway, yeah.
Back to the Premier League this year.
Back to the Prem. So Motherwell.
I've got them 9th.
Yeah.
And for similar reasons that you have, I think, for them finishing 10th. So who have you got 9th?
9th for me is Ross County.
So we're similar. So
I know that they've lost Charles Cook and they've lost Humble and that, and a lot, like you were saying, they're constantly depending on the rotations in and out.
It's a dangerous game.
But I don't know. I genuinely think they'll be okay. They won't be as good as what they achieved last year. I mean, no one really expected that, because I was thinking to myself, they'll get relegated.
Surely this year.
But obviously not. And in fair credit to them, obviously Charles Cook was.
Oh, hello, no.
Hello.
Please don't scratch the chair.
Wouldn't do that.
You coming in?
But yeah, Charles Cook was basically revelation.
He was a talisman this season, yeah.
But and obviously I know this is going to be a big miss, but I had a wee look, and again I've seen that they've got a few boys on loan from down south.
But it's whether or not they're good. Like, again, you're gambling every year.
I'm gambling here as well with the prediction.
It's not as if they're bringing players in and you're like, okay, he's going to do it.
Yeah, but County always seem to
find good players.
Decent
Like,
players.
to be fair, like, I mean, we're laughing and joking about them always rotating, but the fact that they are doing it successfully, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
So the scouting department must be very good.
Yeah,
Especially for a club that small.
Definitely, man.
Yeah. And be able to convince guys come up to not quite Inverness for a year.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm having them 9th, mate. I'm having them 9th.
So 8th, I've got Livy.
Snap.
And my note. Do you want to know my notes for Livy?
Go on.
It's Livy.
It's pretty much like, guys, have a decent squad.
Yeah. They'll. Who's it you said in the championship is going to be very good?
2 goal, number 9, Bruce Anders.
Yeah. Who's it you said in the championship? Like, yeah, they're good at home, so they'll be fine. Who did you say in the championship?
Arbroath.
Arbroath, yeah.
Livy and Arbroath.
Copy and paste that. I think they're good at home, so they'll be fine.
Yeah. Not more to be said. Yeah. I think they're pretty like established Prem team.
Yeah. Martindale's very organised, good manager. He knows what he's got. He seems to know how to get the best out of what he's got. I just think they'll be fine.
They will be.
I think it'll be quite an uneventful season for them. But
I agree.
We'll who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I agree.
But yeah, we'll go with 8th for Livy. Who have you got 7th?
7th, St Mirren.
Same.
I think our top 6 is maybe the same here, but St Mirren. I think they've made a couple of good signings.
Yeah. I've got my notes are Declan Gallagher and the one I put out was Trevor Carson. It could be. I mean, to be fair, I've not actually been looking at the league. I know they're a bad League Cup, but that's not always an indicator of how good or bad a season is going to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Carson's been playing. I would assume he's been first choice, but even if he's not, he is still a good signing.
Yeah,
he's a good player to have about.
Alnick.
I actually forgot about Mark O'Hara.
Alnick's away. You know, the keeper that was there. That was at
used to be at Rangers. Yeah.
He got a good move to Cardiff.
That's who Moussa Dembele nutmegged with a Cruyff turn in the League Cup semi-final.
Really?
Yeah.
But he got a good move to Cardiff.
Yeah. Oh, good for him.
Good. He's a decent keeper actually.
Remember, we were going to go to Cardiff, but then the Ukraine game happened.
Bastards.
I mean, logistically it worked out quite well for you because then you didn't have an expensive and complicated ride home from Spain.
Still be paying my loan off now.
We'd still be worth it though. But anyway, I've got
You've got the same.
Gallagher, Carson, and then O'Hara. Good signings. And adding to what they've already got, I think. I think they've got enough further up the pitch as well. I mean, I'm a really big fan of Eamon Brophy.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. I mean, I don't think he had his best season last year, but I think if they can get him firing, you can get him at least at the double figures this season, then I think they'll be fine.
I seen there was a boy that used were trying to sign that Dylan Tate, winger.
Yeah.
And he's only like 17, 18, and he is a good player.
I think he would be one of them that would probably sign with them, maybe loan him back or things like that.
But he's obviously like just want to play.
St Mirren have got a good history of bringing through young players. So
I think he's a good player though.
And they've got the nicest strip in the league this season as well.
Have they?
Like away kit. Oh, have you not seen it?
No.
Oh.
It's a nice one.
Look at it, it's there on the screen in front of you.
Yeah,
it's like a paisley pattern because they're from Paisley. See, it's a strip Liam Gallagher would wear.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's basically sponsored by Pretty Green. That's what should make the kits. But yeah, I think St Mirren solid enough season.
So we've got the bottom six sorted out then.
So we've both got the same teams in the bottom six in the different order, which means we've also got the same teams in the top 6.
Hey, you want to make it more interesting, do the top 2 first, because we know what the top 2 is going to be.
No, I keep going.
No? Okay.
No.
Fine then.
I want to leave on high.
Right.
Don't leave on third.
Right. So
That's a bit anticlimactic.
Who are you going?
6th, I'm going for Hibs. Same. This is going to be one lost on a couple of picks potentially. I think our championship's a bit more different, but even then it's not too dissimilar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got Hibs. My notes for Hibs are no Europe, signed experience in Aidan McGeady and David Marshall, and I think more crucially, they will have Kevin Nisbet back this season.
Oh yeah, right now.
He's been out since February, and Hibs were looking quite good until December time. I think maybe losing that League Cup final was probably to Celtic was probably the turning point in the season.
Yeah.
And then obviously losing Nisbet was a massive blow for the last 3 months of the year. They never had a good striker up front essentially. Doyle just was never going to score the same goals that Nisbet would. And Nisbet was doing well. I don't think he's fully fit for the start of the season from what I was reading the other day. But the fact that he should be fit for most of the season unless something bad happens again. And you've got guys coming in like McGeady and Marshall to add that bit of experience. I think that'll be good enough for a top 6 this year.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I've got them 6th. Obviously, like you say, they've not had a disaster of a cup run just there.
And again, it can be a sign of things to come. But I think they'll grow into the season.
I was going to say.
I was adding to it. I wasn't.
But I was going to say that. But like I say, it's obviously not a major indicator of the way the season is going to be.
It can be,
but I think they will finish 6th. I think that sounds about right, to be honest, for Hibs. Like you said, they kind of hit the nail on the head where, you know, they've added some experienced players in there. They've got Nisbet coming back, which is a massive gain for them to have coming back.
Game changer, yeah.
And he'll have a point to prove because he's desperate to get that move away from Hibs as well, you could tell.
He wants to move every few months, doesn't he?
That's what I'm saying.
And he'll be wanting to aspirations to get back in the Scotland squad as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And he knows now that obviously Shankle's back in the league as well, so that's and not only that he's playing for his rivals, so he's got to be better than him.
Exactly.
So and that should be like
it's interesting.
And so he's competing with Shankland, and down south you've got guys like Dykes and Adams and that obviously, and this Jacob Brown lad at Stoke, so that should be motivating him to do really well for us this season.
Yeah, but like you say, there's multiple factors there for him that's going to motivate him. So obviously Scotland squad's a big incentive, as is a move away from Hibs. So I would say 6th place, that's where Hibs will be. So 5th then, who have you went for?
I went for Aberdeen.
Wow, okay. You're having United a wee bit far up here, aren't you? I'm going United there at 5th.
Why?
I think they've got Levitt on the deal, and that's obviously a good acquisition to the.
That's a massive thing.
And then they've got Fletcher as well, Stephen Fletcher. But I know that they signed Australian right back today as well, and
they signed a right back as well. I thought it was a left back. Was that?
Nah,
they signed somebody else?
Back. Yeah,
okay.
They signed the right back, I think. But what I was going to say, I don't know what it is, but I still think the squad's still a bit bare for United, especially obviously with them playing in Europe. I know they're going to have AZ.
The likelihood is they play Alkmaar. I think their game's going on right now. In fact, but let's check. You talk about United, about why you think, and I'll check.
But yeah, I just think their squad's quite bare for like the demands of the season, to be honest. But
Alkmaar are currently 3-0 up, so they are playing. They're playing United next week at Tardis. Yeah. So the likelihood is they only play one round in Europe, realistically.
But I don't know what it is. I think fifth is a fair spot for United this season. Now, I know that they've still got kind of the core of last season, but there's obviously a bit of change with the manager coming in. They've obviously got these like Fletcher and that coming in, and a few other lads, you know, from like down under in Australia. So they'll take a bit of adjustment trying to settle in the league. I think fifth place is fair for United, to be honest, in my opinion. Yeah. That's a good season for United.
Yeah, I don't think they would be too upset with that, but it's United fans.
No. I think that's a good season.
I've got Aberdeen. I mean, to contradict what I've just said, I've got Aberdeen fifth. Good League Cup run so far. I think they've won every game without conceding a goal.
Yeah. They look good actually.
Goodwin has now had a chance to build his own team. Obviously Aberdeen won the great last year, and obviously they've lost Ramsey and they've lost Ferguson, but they've obviously already brought in guys who seem to be gelling together quite quickly already. I mean, again, we know it's only the League Cup, but like I said, it can be an indicator. It cannot be. I think in Aberdeen's case, they were already playing differently than what they did last year. They actually kind of want to score goals now.
Yeah.
That one that McCrory scored the other day was
a peach. That was against Rafe, wasn't it? Yeah.
They've got this new striker now, this Macedonian boy who popped in a penalty.
Some pen, by
already looks more motivated than Ramirez ever did last season.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and we know Goodwin's a good manager from his time at St Mirren. I think now that he's got hopefully a bit of money to spend now as well. I mean, I don't think Aberdeen will be finished in the transfer market. I think we've still got a month left. I can see more faces coming in at Aberdeen to make them a bit better. I think Aberdeen will be improved this year. I think they'll only get better as the season goes on. So I'm going in for fifth.
I take it we've obviously got them the other way around there for fourth and fifth.
Yeah, so I've got United fourth.
Got United fourth.
Because United, I actually think they're a better team now than they were last year, because obviously Levitt's come back a better player. He's got a bit more security now. He knows he's going to be there for at least a season. United might sell him for a fee next year unless they get him to sign an extension, but he knows that he's there now. I think he's only going to get better. He's international now. He might end up going to the World Cup. Hopefully, that would be good for the league if we've got players outside Celtic and Rangers who are going to the World Cup. Especially Wales are a good side, so he's only going to get better if he stays in that national team. I mean, you've got Harks is still there, had a good season last year. You've got Mulgrew bringing all of his experience. He still looks like a player at least 5 or 6 years younger than he actually is. He can still play at that level. They've brought in these two Aussie boys who have got a lot of experience, and obviously Fletcher coming in is only going to be good for them as well. I mean, we know it's Stephen Fletcher, so he's not going to be fit for every game, but I think when he is there, he'll bring that level of experience. He will score, he will chip in with goals. The way they play is already more attacking and more exciting. I went to the Sunderland game the other week, and fair enough, they got beat 2-0, but again, United fielded a very understrength team. But they've kind of ditched the 5 at the back. They're kind of playing more attacking, better to watch already. I think that will improve them throughout the season, and that will also keep the fans on side with Ross. Because one of the things, as we know from that video with Grant, for example, yeah, he got results, but it was not good to watch. I mean, again, all jokes aside, we laugh at United, but they're almost like Tottenham up here in a way that they want to do well, but they also want to do well playing good attacking football. And I think that's something that Ross will try and bring. And I think he's one of the best managers in the league. I rate him quite highly. I think he's a great pick-up for United. I just think, I think the top 4 will be the same as it was last year.
Fair enough.
I think United will slot in 4th. And who knows, I'm going to go to Tannadice next week. Hopefully they can get an upset. You'll be hoping to get pumped. But we'll see what happens. I think good things ahead for United. And they would have a really nice strip if the sponsor didn't ruin it. That big yellow.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We've obviously got the places switch around, but I would say Aberdeen 4th.
So, yeah.
I think
Are you going to add to what I was saying about them there? Yeah.
Another thing as well is obviously, and I know that I'm playing on it, but another thing as well is obviously Goodwin's had that whole the pre-season with him, and he's got his team now, his team that he wants, and I think he's actually a very good coach. To be fair, he done a great job with St Mirren. Like I remember him coming in and they were struggling, and he basically established them as kind of mid-table, which is kind of what you'd expect with St Mirren, to be honest. And obviously he's got a chance at the job at Aberdeen now, where they've obviously got aspirations to always be kind of top.
Oh yeah, Aberdeen are one of the biggest clubs in the country.
But that's what I'm saying. So I think obviously it's too early to say what the signings are going to be like, and I know I kind of put my neck on the line last season with Aberdeen, and
not as much as you put your neck on the line with Dundee United.
Aye, no, I know, but you know what? I think Aberdeen will be forfeit, and they've had obviously a good start in the cup competition as well. Like you said, they're winning all their games, no goals conceded. I watched a bit of that Rafe game as well, and they were knocking about pretty well. Rafe didn't really have much of a showing at all in that game. I think Aberdeen, to be honest, I do finish fourth. Aye.
I'm guessing we've both got Hearts third.
Yes.
Yes. Not Celtic third this year.
No, not this season.
No. I think, again, I spoke about it with Robbie in the video the other day, so if you watch that, you kind of know what I think about Hearts. I think Hearts will be still on their island onto themselves, but I think they'll be closer to fourth place this year. Despite arguably having a better team this year, we know that they are going to be playing at least 6 group games in Europe this season, on top of the potentially 4 qualifiers they might have to play. 2 if they get through the Europa League, and then another 2. They will only play 2, because if they win they go to Europa League, and if they lose they go to the conference. So we know that they're going to play an extra 8 games on top of the league games, and they'll have they will go into the League Cup as well, because they've got to buy from being in Europe obviously. So I think the gap will be closer, but I still think they'll be in third place. Yeah.
And the thing is as well, they've added a lot of depth to their squad.
Which you need for
the summer there. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like we were highlighting Shankland. Don't get me wrong, obviously, we know he's a good finisher.
Yeah. And he's back with his old coach who got the most out of him at United.
Exactly.
And he's going to get the service, I think, at Hearts that he didn't get at
they've strengthened a lot though,
in the Premier League.
And they've obviously Alan Forrest as well. He looks a decent player. You've obviously got that Cochrane that was at Hearts last season from Brighton. They've got him on a permanent deal now. The young left back, he looks a good player too. They've signed a few Australian boys as well, like a centre back, because they needed to replace Suter obviously. I think that's important as well. Suter's going to obviously be a big miss for them. You know, because I felt like a lot of the time they would look at Suter to kind of come out and spray that pass to get the front three going.
Suter could play in midfield if they needed that. He's got that quality.
And obviously Barry Mackay's a big player for them as well. But I think obviously it's quite good for them to have Boyce and Shanklin switch in. Yeah. And I think that'll be really important for them. But I agree with you. I think Hearts will, although they're playing more games, they'll still finish third. They will.
So?
You want to know what I'm going to say this time, don't you? You want me to go first?
You go first.
So, I'm going for Rangers to finish second. Yeah. They've lost two star men at that team. Aribo, who obviously I really like,
and Ramsey.
They've lost Ramsey. No, the other one, what was I going to say? Bassey.
Oh yeah.
So they've lost 2 of their star players, I would say, in that team. Obviously, I know they've added players to that I think will be decent for them, but we don't know if they're going to be the same level as what's just happened. So it's all hypothetical. Unlike Celtic, who still have basically their whole team and have strengthened, and Celtic still.
I think the one that, I mean, I've seen a couple of highlights of some of their games in pre-season. The boy Matondo looks good. He looks quite exciting. Funny thing about, do you want to know a funny story about Ravi Matondo? So as you know, my all-conquering Schalke team on. It was my FM save this year.
Aye.
Liam Delap, by the way, great pick-up on FM from Man City's youth academy. One of the players I got rid of straight away because he had a horrendous attitude was Robbie Matondo. And now he's signed for Rangers.
There you go.
So we'll see if he's better in real life than what Sports Interactive thought he was going to be. But I mean, he looks quite neat and tidy with the ball at his feet. He likes a wee step over. He's a good dribbler. He's scored a couple of goals in pre-season already for.
I've not seen him play.
I think he gives them something different on that right hand side. So it'll probably be him and Kent up front, and this is Kolak. I think is the new one that they've got.
Striker, aye.
I mean, because fuck knows what's going on with Morelos. So that could be their new front three. I think a big thing for them this year, they need to get more out of Kent in terms of goals and assists. I know that maybe the joke was that I kept saying last season was that Ralston scored more goals and assists from Celtic's subby right back position than Rangers got out of Kent. But I think maybe Kent's one of those, he's maybe like a Paul Scholes in the sense that he's like a pass before an assist or whatever. And we know how dangerous he can be.
Yeah.
But I think he really needs to step up for Rangers this year and give them. He needs to give them numbers, I think, this season.
Yeah, he does.
Proper goals and assists.
Well, especially with Rebo leaving.
And Rebo leaving, and I think Morelos not looking like he's. I don't know if he's checked out.
It's weird, eh?
It's weird.
He's kind of been
got that
into that move.
He got it for years. But he got that injury during that European run, and he looks like me now. He looks like he's well out of season. I don't know. But the irony is, if he is checked out, then he's not going to get a move if he's not fit. And the thing is, if you're at Celtic and Rangers level in Scotland, and similarly to maybe like a Kevin Nisbet at Hibs, if you want to then kick on and go to a higher level, you have to be absolutely bossing it up here. Like you're not going to get a move down south or like to another European league for more money or at a high level, but if you're just kind of kicking your heels in Scotland and not doing that well.
No. I know.
One person I can remember that happened to is, do you remember Stefan Johansson, played for Celtic for a couple of years? Ended up at Fulham, because his first he was here for 6 months. He was here at the end of the tail of the season, and the season after that, he was the best player in the league by a mile. He was playing number 10 for us. He was in behind Griffiths. They were linking up really well. Player of the year. And you could tell that he thought, right, I'm getting my move now. Nobody came in for him. The season after, he had a bit of an average season. You know, I think guys like Rogic and maybe took his place in the team eventually. And he was like, oh. And he ended up going to Fulham in the Championship and then just yo-yo. Whereas if he'd probably kept going for another year and really bossed it, like if Van Dijk did it for 2 full seasons, he probably would have got a move to the Premier League.
Yeah.
And you heard all these rumours for years about Morelos, like when he was really on fire, scoring loads of goals, getting like 25, 30 goals a season, all these supposed £30 million bids from Lille that they were turning down, which I never believed, because if anyone in Scotland's getting a bid for £30 million, doesn't matter who you are, you're getting sold. Look at like Tierney went to Arsenal for 25 million when he still had 5 years left on his contract, I think it was. It's the curious case of Alfredo Morelos.
Also, to add to what you're saying there as well, like, fair enough, like a player having a brilliant season, right? But like you say, it's important to do that second season because it also shows to these teams the player's attitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think like that's so important to a potential buyer.
A suitor.
Exactly, because, if you will, well, like I think that's Morelos' problem. And undoubtedly, he's a talent. He's a brilliant finisher, and that he's good at what he does. Like strong, he holds it up.
Oh, he's a brilliant player. I'm not one of these Celtic fans who's going to say that he's shite. He's a great player.
Yeah, but like that's why he's not getting his move. It's attitude. Yeah. Like I don't think he's smart enough to realise that though. You know. Because he's just moping about, being like kicking his heels, as you say.
I'm kicking other players.
Aye, like there's my move, you know. Because he'll be thinking to himself, I've done it again in Europe. I've done it again. Why am I not getting this move? That's what he's thinking. But he doesn't realise to himself it's his attitude. Yeah. He's got to just consistently just keep going.
And who knows, he might not even be first choice anymore. Like Roof did very well, I thought, when he came in last year. I think he's a good player. Yeah. And this Kolak boy coming in now. So we could be in a weird situation with Morelos as the Rangers third choice striker.
But that's what happens though, Dan. It's just kind of what you just said about Johansson.
Yeah. But I agree, I do think Rangers will finish second. Again, I'm not one of these Celtic fans that are going to say Celtic are great, Rangers are shite. Rangers are a very good team, which is why they got to the Europa League final, which is why they won the Scottish Cup, which is why they were only 4 points behind us in the league.
It's not going to be easy, obviously.
It could go. It's like most seasons in Scotland. It could go either way between Celtic and Rangers. But for similar reasons to what you said, I think Rangers they've obviously lost 2 of their best players. They've brought in good players, but they've not. I mean, we'll need to see if this Ridvan guy is going to be Bassey level, or whether or not it's going to be Barisic starting at left back for them. And even if it's not Barisic, is Ridvan going to be as good as Bassey?
Is that the
Turkish boy? Yeah. So that's a big what if. Is Matondo going to be as good as he is in pre-season? Is Kamara going to stay? Is Jack going to be able to stay fit? Is Davis going to be able to run by the time we get to October? Like there is still a lot of. Can Tavernier carry the team on his back from right back again? I think there's a lot of if buts and maybes there. I think Celtic did this massive, ridiculous rebuild last year, and it paid off for them.
Yeah. And
I think we've got. It's not a settled team because a lot of them have still been there less than a year. But we've got, again, that identity under Ange Postecoglou now. We've got a way of playing. We've kept a hold of everyone. And like I said, we've added a bit of depth where we needed another left back. So this Bernabeu guy from Lanús in Argentina, I don't know a lot about him. Ali follows a bit of Argentinian football because he's got family over there. He said he doesn't know Bernabeu, but he knows that Lanús have got a good history of bringing through young players. So there's reason to believe he could be quite good. I think Taylor probably starts the season because that's his shirt, so he's got to try and take it off him. But again, we've got Europe now, so we can swap them in and out for Champions League games. We've added Seagrass. We've got a better backup goalkeeper now to Hart because Baines wasn't good enough for if we ever need to give Hart a rest. I mean, Rogic and Beaton have left, but midfield we have got lots of options there. And we've got a good side last year. Threw it together, they gelled incredibly quickly, and we've added. I don't think there's any reason to think that we can't go on and do the league again. Maybe Champions League might drop points, and maybe that'll open the door for Rangers. But we'll see.
I think Celtic will win it.
Do you think it'll be a similar gap to last year, or do you think it'll be bigger? It was only 4 points last year.
I think it'll be more.
Do you think so? I'd love that.
I think it'll be. I'm going for 9.
Wow.
I think it'll be 9. I think
because Rangers, of course, will have at least. I think they've got at least European football until Christmas as well. The worst they can do is Europa League group stage.
I think there's.
So the likelihood is.
I think Rangers lost 2 of the biggest players, and it's too hard for them to replace that.
But there's still time, of course.
I know they've signed that Tom Lawrence and that on a free, which is a good bit of business, but he's not the same standard as Aribo. He's not. Bassey was obviously a huge player, the boy that you really.
If there was anyone I could have took from that Rangers team, anyone I could have took from that Rangers team, if you're playing that game, who do you take for Rangers? 10 times out of 10, it would have been Calvin Bassey. The guy was an absolute. Remember the first time I saw him properly? I think it was with you at Dens Park. I was like, this guy is.
He cruised it,
To sound like an American sports commentator, he's an athlete. He just looked like a fucking athlete. And remember the last week of the season, 120 minutes in Seville, baking heat. I mean, you could argue, some Rangers fans were like, oh, he cost us the goal and all that. I'm like, well, no. Fair enough, it was Goldson not defending the cross at the front post, but again, he ran up and down for 120 minutes. He was a brilliant player in that game. One of Rangers' better players, I thought, in that final. And he did it again on the Saturday. I remember there was a great shot of him near the end of that final. You wouldn't have seen it if you were in the stand. But he was chasing somebody down, and I think he ended up winning a throw-in in the corner, so just Rangers would get out of trouble. And he just kind of went like that for about half a second, like catching his breath, and just got up and started laughing. I'm like, this guy's a freak. He's got such a good engine on him. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. He's only going to get better with the coaching over there.
Definitely, mate.
But Rangers have got another month to spend. I think they've got about 15 million or so left of that money. Because 4 million on Ben Davies, by the way. That's fucking weird. Like a good player, obviously, because
wouldn't have been at Liverpool.
He wouldn't have, and Celtic probably wouldn't have been looking at him either unless he was no half decent. And he's obviously a solid championship player for a long time. But 4 million for a guy that's went for $500,000 a few years ago and never actually played for Liverpool. Liverpool got a good deal out of that. I thought Rangers overspent a bit on that. But they need to spend this money wisely.
To be fair, I've never seen him play, so I can't comment.
No.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. But I mean, I think our predictions are quite similar. To be fair. Yeah.
So just like the what I think the title race will be anyway. Our contest is going to be tight. I think it could be one or two positions that decides it because they are quite
Seals
similar.
our fate.
Could be Cove Rangers having a good season. The difference between me being bald, or having to eat really spicy food, or having to admit that you're better at football than me.
Oh.
Well, production side anyway. So aye, leave it at that.
Yep.
We'll see what happens.
Alright.
So until next time.
Keep it balanced.
Heaven was okay.